How are you? I hope you're very well. I made a video at the start of lockdown to kind of say we're going into lockdown and this is how it's going to affect me and this is how I feel about it, and I just thought maybe I'll do a little update. I thought it might be helpful or interesting, or I don't know, just give you something to do, something to watch, isn't it? We were announced in the UK, people who couldn't work from home should now be urged to go back to work. And I guess technically that is me. I thought about this a little bit and I had a discussion with a lot of other buskers about how they perceived that instruction, because I think a lot of buskers did hear that and think, well, that's me, I've got to go back to work. Personally, I just feel it's not safe enough to go back yet to just normality. I think it would be naive to behave as if lockdown has been lifted, because it really hasn't. Like pubs and restaurants and places where I would go and gig, then they're not going to be open for the foreseeable future either. So I'm kind of I'm judging, I guess, by that. I think there's a possibility that I could go back to busking sooner than I could go back to gigging because it's in the open air, but I am conscious of encouraging a crowd to gather, doing something that intentionally catches people's attention and brings them closer into a closer proximity to each other and to me. I just think that it doesn't sound like a good thing to be doing during a pandemic. So yeah, I'm a little unsure at the moment as to when I'll be able to go back to busking. So instead of busking on the South Bank, I've been busking online, as many of you have been watching and engaging with and commenting and tipping me on PayPal. I'm so grateful. That's a little update on how I'm feeling about the situation. And now I'm going to turn to some of your questions. Ilsa says, what have you been doing while in lockdown to keep yourself busy and upbeat? Oh, well, okay. Well, as I said, my live streams has really been the thing that keeps me the most upbeat, I think, because performing live is what I love doing, and without being able to do that, this is a sort of, that's what makes this a really tough time for me. The other thing I've been doing, this was going to be like a bit of a secret to my Patreon, but I have been working on some new music that I've been recording at home, and that's been keeping me quite upbeat because it's something to look forward to, and I feel like I'm progressing. And obviously this is a very difficult time, and I don't want to like talk about it like it's a blessing, because for a lot of people it's not, but just personally trying to see it on the bright side, this time is the time that I really needed to work on some new music. I haven't released any original music in 3 years since 2017, so I'm hoping this autumn I'm going to be able to give you some new music, and that's what I've been doing to keep really busy. Jules says, what was doing your first ever live stream like? In the past I've done a couple of live streams from the South Bank, and like either had people film them or I've like hooked my iPhone up and had a sort of bad angle of me busking that people could watch, but all of those felt really stressful. Trying to set it up and then set up all my busking stuff and then constantly checking that it's working. Signal on the South Bank's always really bad, so it was always cutting out. Whereas doing my first live stream from home since the pandemic has been really fun. The first one that I did in lockdown as well got such a lovely response, and people were just so up for it and engaged and happy and excited. I feel like it was the first moment in lockdown where I felt like I think everything is going to be okay, actually. Sophie says, have you learned anything new musically while being in lockdown? I have had this ukulele for a while, and I think I have played songs on it in the past. I've been perfecting my ukulele playing while I've been in lockdown. I know it's sort of a funny instrument and it's a bit twee and it's a bit like YouTube in 2007, but I don't know, I think I might bring the ukulele back. I think it could be a thing. I think it suits me, so yeah. That's what I've been learning musically in lockdown. Bob says, here's a silly question for you. On some of your streams you play left-handed, on others right-handed. Is this to do with your camera, or are you ambidextrous? It's to do with my camera. I wish I was ambidextrous. I wish I could play the ukulele this way, but I don't. No. It's the camera. The first couple of live streams that I did, I was filming on my phone, which flips the image. So some of you also noticed that I had to write my name backwards on my little sign that I have behind me when I'm doing live streams. Just realised the cupboard doors are open. That's really like unsightly. Let me just close them. Stephen says, what's your biggest achievement during lockdown? Oh, I don't know. In a way, as much as I'm staying so positive and I'm feeling really good about things, I've achieved very little in lockdown. Honestly, very, very little. It's been 2 months. And I'm like saying that I'm recording new songs. I just started that like a week ago. And that was my plan right from the start of lockdown. I was like, yeah, I'm going to record like a whole new EP. And I've just started. And so that's taken me 8 weeks. So in a lot of ways, I've achieved nothing. I'd say my live streams, I feel quite proud of them. I do every Friday night at 8 p.m. and the community of people that tune in, I just feel really proud, and I feel obviously a lot of that's down to you guys as well, who you've created that atmosphere by coming and watching and commenting. I've achieved that, I guess. I'm trying to find things that I've achieved. I'm like, what have I achieved? Nothing. What bad habits do you have? I am incredibly messy. I'm very, very messy. Connor is incredibly neat and he likes everything to be ordered and he's always cleaning up after me, and I just, I'm incredibly messy. EB, oh hi EB. EB says, what's been the biggest challenge you've faced making the change from busking in public to busking online, and how have you found yourself dealing with it? Ah, thanks EB, good question. I think one of the challenges, and probably not the biggest challenge, but just something of note, I guess, is that like financially busking online is just not the same as busking outdoors, because you're relying on the same people all the time to tip you, which they're like, people are so generous, but it's not fair really on them. Whereas like when you're busking in public, it's brand new people all the time, it's constant passing crowd, so like there's an element I guess of like guilt that I feel to be constantly asking the same people to make tips to me and donations. I've never with busking wanted it to be like a handout. I've always wanted it to be an exchange for entertainment and you know, like a service that I'm providing. But now I think it's a little bit more like reliant on the people who've already supported me in the past by even like following my page and continuing to watch what I do. So in that sense, I think that has been a challenge, to like try and overcome that guilt and just understand that people won't tip if they can't afford to, or they don't want to, or they're not able to. That sort of has, I felt, hung over my head in a way that busking never has before. I love the song Sparkle. Who or what was that song about? Great question, thank you. Sort of about the way that women are sort of made to feel like as you get older you are sort of dulled. There's a lot of glorification of youth in our culture, that like if you're young then you're beautiful, and as you get older you get less beautiful, especially for women, whereas men are allowed to get older, women are really not. That's sort of one side of it. And then more in a sense of just for everybody, and I think a lot, especially men actually, I think it's very clear in the higher suicide rates that we have in men, that men are not often encouraged to talk if they're not doing well. They just keep it inside. If you don't talk about it, no one's going to know, because nobody knows what's going on for you. And the first thing you need to do is start with yourself and try and be a little bit kinder. And you know, when you look in the mirror, don't criticize yourself, and talk to other people and let them know that you're not doing okay. There's a lot to Sparkle, to be honest. It's a song I'm very proud of, and I hope that it speaks to a lot of people. Jemima says, favourite song you've written? You know, it might be Sparkle actually. So I think Sparkle's up there with one of my favourite songs I've ever written, and especially because I found that the response to it's been really, really kind and positive, and like it's touched a lot of people and it's meant a lot to people, and that's really what I want to do with music. So probably Sparkle, or Safe Harbour, I think is another one of my favourite songs that I've written. Okay, and that's the end of the Q&A. Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, birds fly over the rainbow. Why then, oh why can't I?